What is going on in the Anchorage real estate market? Well, my name is Jamin Goecker. I'm an associate real estate broker in the state of Alaska, and my mission, as always, is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching in real estate. And today, we're going to be talking about what's going on in Anchorage, looking at the residential, the condo, and the multifamily market. And we'll go ahead and take a look at all that, analyze the data for you, and give you a good idea as to what's going on in this market and what your best options are moving forward. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. Now, the first thing we want to know when we're looking at the real estate market, really in any market, is what's going on as far as the available inventory. Well, in Anchorage this time last year, for the month of February, where we have the most complete data as of now, we see that there was about 170 properties this time last year. Now there's 164. Now, the next thing we see is that the number of properties that have actually sold went from about 115 this time last year to about 105 this year. So more or less, it's staying about the same, not a whole lot of fluctuation either way. Right now, the third thing that we see here is what's going on in the average sold price. So the average sold price in Anchorage, Alaska went from about $463,000 to about $463,000 for the month of February. Now, this is pretty in line with what we see in the previous month, and that's about what we would expect in a market where there's just compressed inventory and there's always going to be a baseline of demand. We'll talk more about why it is that we're still seeing an increase in the average sold price, even though all the factors that everyone always feel like I have to be reminded about as to why the prices should be going down, and yet they're going up. So we'll talk about that in the summary. The next thing we want to focus on is what's going on in the condo market. Well, the condo market is actually seeing some significant movement here compared to the previous year, because we see that this time last year there was about approximately 44 condos that were available on the market, and now there's 76. So we do in fact see a pretty big spike in the number of condos that are available on the market over in Anchorage. But when we look historically, we see that the numbers are still pretty low, because a couple of years ago, we normally would have seen about 280 up to about 370 condos available on the market during the same month of February. So yes, we are seeing a pretty big spike compared to the year before, but historically, we're still seeing a pretty small inventory available for what the condo market usually is. Now, I'm sure you're wondering to yourself, okay, what's going on as far as the number of condos that have actually sold? Well, we see that the number of condos that have actually sold did in fact see an increase as well, where there was about 33 condos that sold this time last year. Now there's 47 this year for the month of February. So we are seeing a pretty good increase from the number of condos that are selling, which does kind of speak to the demand that there are for condos at the moment, because of the increasing price for single-family homes, and people are looking for affordable options, and condos seem like a pretty good option. There's some pros and cons to that. We can talk more about that in the summary, though. Last but not least, we see that the average price for condos in Anchorage for the month of February this year compared to the year before went from about $260 this time last year to about $272,000 this year. So we're seeing about a $12,000 increase year over year, just looking at those 2 months side by side, and that's pretty comparable to what we saw for the month of January as well. So what that really does tell me is that there is a increased demand for condos in Anchorage. The fact that we're actually seeing an increase for the average sold price instead of kind of a stagnation really is kind of a good thing for condo owners, because historically that asset class has not really moved quickly at all historically in Anchorage. There's kind of been a glut of inventory. But as people are looking for a more affordable option, people are going to be going more and more to condos, or looking for options that are similar to it. Let's go and take a break real quick here. For those of you who have been watching for a while, you do know that we've had a number of studios and backgrounds we've used in the past. Well, I am happy to say this is our very first video to be filming in a studio that I personally own now, Alpenglow Studios, and it is this right here. So there's a lot of great stuff going on here. We're happy to be able to do it here in order to provide the highest quality content that we can in a way that's hopefully not going to be distracting, but is going to be able to just provide more value. Let's go and take a break real quick here. For those of you who've been watching for a bit, you do know that I host a monthly meetup, and link for that is going to be in the description section down below to a private Facebook group. Cool thing about the meetups is this is just people who have recently moved up here to Alaska, and we do know that people who move to a new area, usually establishing those social networks are some of the more difficult things that you can do. So we want to make sure that we provided a good avenue for people where they could actually meet others and start to get out and really enjoy the state. We do a lot of stuff like hiking. We did a family photo shoot a little bit ago. We did sledding not too long ago with hot chocolate. This week we're going to be going and doing some ice fishing. So it's really just, some the stuff that's pretty simple for us to get out and enjoy the state. So if that's something you would enjoy doing, then do make sure to go ahead and join us on the Alaska Monthly Meetup Facebook group. Link for that is going to be in the description section down below. That is the only place we put information for the meetup. So make sure you get plugged in and enjoy that. And let's go and finish up today's market update. Now, last but not least, we're going to take a look and see what's going on in the multifamily market in Anchorage. And what we're seeing here is that the number of available properties ballooned from about 31 properties this time last year to about 67 this year. So we are seeing about a doubling for the inventory that's available. But historically, we do see that there would usually be about 150, 170 properties that would be available on the market about this time. So historically, still pretty low, but that is a favorable indication if you were looking at jumping into the multifamily market anytime soon. Now, the next thing we want to look at is what's going on as far as the number of multifamily properties that have actually sold. Well, what we see is that this time last year there were 20, and this year there's 13. It's really never much of a surprise to me when we see kind of a dip in the number of multifamily properties that are selling. Good reason for that is a lot of investors kind of want to get their taxes done before they really jump into getting into new investments. And so the investment properties kind of lag behind a little bit during the first and second quarter. But, that's still kind of lagging behind for what we would historically see, because there'd be about, 25, 30, 16. That's kind of all over the place, but 13 is still kind of low. And that kind of does speak more to the higher interest rates, because as an investment, it's all just numbers. Okay, there's no emotional aspect to it as though you're a primary home buyer. There's really no emotional aspect to it. It is all numbers, and if it doesn't make sense on paper, then investors just don't do it. And when you have higher interest rates, it gets tougher to find properties that actually pencil out. Last but not least, we see that the price for the average sold price for multifamily properties went from about $429,000 to about $493,000 for the month of February. So this not entirely a surprise. We have a smaller pool of properties that sold for the month of February. So having a couple properties that were on the higher end really can drive that up. So yes, I do expect to see kind of a healthy appreciation for multifamily properties, maybe not by $60,000, $70,000. If we kind of broke that out and said, okay, a fourplex is sold during the month of February last year was this price, and the price of a similar multifamily fourplex this year was this price, I think we'd still see an appreciation. I don't think it'd quite be by that much. All right, so in summary, what does all this mean for you? Well, number one, if you are a buyer, it means that there's still some good demand out there, really, for all the different asset classes. If you're looking for something more affordable, condos can do the trick, but the downside is you just don't expect a whole lot of appreciation. Historically, if you look at the data, you see that condos usually do not appreciate at the same rate, or sometimes at all, compared to their single-family counterparts. But if you're just looking for something with a pretty low monthly expense, like for someone that is just looking at having a secondary property where they can be here for a little bit and for a couple weeks at a time and then leave, and then have some good assurance that the property is not going to get messed with while you're gone, then there's a good chance condos is really going to make sense for you. If you're looking for something that's going to appreciate for you long term and give you all these financial benefits, then condos may or may not be the best option for you. If you are a buyer looking at all this, the main thing to know is the market is not going to be going belly up anytime soon, just because there continues to be a lot of demand out there, not a whole lot of inventory available, which it doesn't matter what really high-level metrics you think you found or any big principles you think you found is just going to blow the entire system wide open. They all have to bend the knee to the simple principle of supply and demand. And if we have low supply and high demand, then the market is not going to crash anytime soon. As soon as we just get a flood of inventory, that could completely change, but I'm not expecting to see that anytime soon. If you are a seller looking at this market, well, this is a pretty good market to be selling in. I will say, though, it is not the market that we had back in 2020 and 2021. You still can expect to get multiple offers if you do all the stuff you need to do, like the marketing and making sure it's actually staged and looks good and smells good and presents well. If you do that stuff, then there's a good chance that you're going to be getting some good attention for it. But you can't just throw any price against the wall now and just hope that it sticks. You have to actually be within a reason for the market, because I'm seeing a lot of houses just kind of stay on the market for a long time, and that's usually solely on the shoulders of the seller. I know that you're not supposed to say that, but it's the truth. If you can't sell a house in this market, usually it's because the seller is just obstinately sticking to a price that the market has rejected. So this has been your market update for what's going on in Anchorage. I sure hope it's been useful. If it has, give this video a like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Reach out to me if you have questions, and we'll see you next time.